Welcome, Sue. Thank you so much for joining me for a little conversation today and for sharing some of the great work that you're doing. I wonder if you could start by just telling us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and a little bit about the school district you work in.
Okay. This is my 20th year as Homeless Education Liaison for Billings Public Schools. I'm a full-time liaison. That's my only job with the district. So it kind of gives me the freedom to be able to do what I need to do, that capacity. Billings Public Schools is located in Billings, Montana. We are the largest district in the state. We have about 17,500 kids, and about a third of them are on free and reduced lunch. Though I do anticipate with this COVID and with the loss of jobs and all of that, that our numbers will probably increase as far as the poverty level. Even though we're a city, we are still kind of rural and in mind.
All right, so as we look towards this new strange school year, I was wondering if you could tell me a little bit about what are some of your biggest challenges and just worries as you think about going into this new school year with your McKinney-Vento students?
Well, first of all, just finding them and re-identifying them. I always call and check in with the ones from the previous spring that were still in a homeless situation just to follow up on them. But trying to find them, some of them left town to go and stay with other relatives. We're really close to a couple of the Indian reservations, so some of them went back home, what they considered home, for that safety. It's been kind of hard to communicate with families when there's no school, and that was where my major contact with parents and families is, and with students. Unaccompanied youth, I'm really worried about them, because there are several of our agencies that have shut down because of COVID cases. So they've done a lot of outreach type things, but there's not like a day center now for the kids to go to. So I'm a little concerned about them. Transportation is going to be an issue. It's always an issue to begin with. We always seem to make it work with the school buses, but now with one per seat, there's going to be less buses available to add my students onto. We'll make it happen, but it'll just be more challenging. I use a cab company a lot. Our city buses only run once an hour, so it's not like where you can count on that to get to school on time. Transferring, it's not appropriate for younger kids. Capacity of the cabs, sometimes they only have 4 cab drivers on duty. It's a small town, and a lot of times I'd have all 4 of them going to 4 different schools, picking up kids to take them home. Well, now if I can't have more than one family in a cab, the kids might be waiting longer to either get to school or to get home. So I'm a little concerned about how that's going to look. I just don't know also what they're going to need. Are they going to, what's been happening to them for the last 5 months? So what have they been through? What mental health services are we going to have to find out? What do they need as far as just school supply and food and all those normal things that our kids need, but maybe on a greater needs base now?
So what do you have in mind to try to address some of these challenges? These are big challenges and they require a lot of creativity and a lot of, your experience. So what do you have up your sleeve?
So community awareness is huge in trying to identify, and I'm really fortunate, since I've been in this job for so long, the community knows me, and so agencies refer and we can collaborate. So I want to continue that collaboration and that coordination of services. Just the staff awareness too about the remote. I loved on Schoolhouse Connection where you guys were talking about signs to look for when kids are online that might become, so that we know we can maybe identify them and maybe make contact with them. And so I'm actually going to print out that and send that. I've told the administrators to be watching for that and to please share that with the online teachers as well as those that are in person, so we can kind of get them to thinking in a different way about how to identify these kids. I'm buying up extra supplies. I'm very fortunate. I have a donation account as well as my McKinney-Vento funds. People send me money, so I have an account, and so I'm trying to buy up as many supplies as I can. In the grade schools, a lot of times the elementary schools, they'll use community supplies. Well, with COVID now, they're all going to need their own individual set. So I anticipate I'm going to need more supplies. I'm just kind of trying to think ahead of that. Um, and so just trying to have those extra things on hand. Then with the unaccompanied youth, one of the things I'm going to do this year is I'm going to write their cell phone numbers down because they all have cell phones. A lot of times in the contacts, we have a parent phone number, but they're not living with their parent or they're estranged from their parent. Parent has no idea where they are. So not only I'm going to get their phone number, but my plan is I'm going to say, okay, who's your best friend? Who's your second best friend? What's their phone number? So that if I can't get a hold of that student, their buddies usually know where they are.
That's a great idea. Kind of already planning ahead to lose touch and
Yeah,
helping you keep in
yeah.
touch.
You know, we're not in this business because there's any constant. It's we're used to the change, so maybe we're a little more prepared than maybe some of the other staff members.
That's a good point. That's a good point. I've been so impressed by so many liaisons just kind of rolling with it and being so creative very quickly. You know, something
Yeah,
that I'd probably have to stew on for a little while to figure it out. And someone says, "Oh yeah, just do it this way." But you're right. You've kind of been training for this almost in a way for 20
that's
years.
right. We have a pretty strong Montana liaisons. You know, I depend on their phone calls and their texts and their emails as well.
Yeah, that's important. That camaraderie and sharing strategies and just kind of
Absolutely.
sharing worries too. So those were awesome strategies that you shared. I want to give you the opportunity. Any last words? Anything else that you want to share out?
Yeah, just we just kind of have to roll with the punches and do what's best for kids. And as long as we're doing what's best for kids or what we think is best for kids, if we have that in our minds and in our hearts, we'll be okay.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. That has to be our focus. It has to be.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.